from the top of West Mountain in Scranton, Pennsylvania. Good morning, everybody. I am Libertarian Lou. On the line is Tea Party Mike Lacey. This is 94.3 FM, The Talker, and this is Sanity Check. Good morning, Michael.
Good morning. It's freezing here in Texas, everybody. We're looking at 21 degrees, and everybody's down here questioning what happened. This is Texas. And then I reminded them of the Lou Vortex.
That's right.
Once again, the Jasikoff Vortex, nothing will ever be the same.
The Sanity Check Vortex. That is absolutely correct, Michael. Boy, I got to tell you, it's actually, I think, warmer here. And when we say we're on the top of West Mountain, we mean that. And I thought I got here early this morning only because I thought coming up this hill was going to be treacherous and I'd be hiking it up. But it was actually pleasantly easy to get up here this morning. It was harder getting into my car. Everything, the doors were frozen shut. But outside of that, things are going well. So as always, if you want to join the conversation, you want to blow off a little steam. I don't know why you need to blow off a little steam, Michael. I mean, things went so swimmingly well, as we say, this past week, but that number is 888-577-4487. So, Michael, this week, let me tell you, the new paper came out. There's no politics in it, but as always, you'll read some of the stories, grow your own groceries. Here's a lady that we actually interviewed down in Texas. She's nationally known. She's been on, what was the show there, Preppers and National Geographic. But the whole idea of that was she got into doing what she did because she felt as though that the economy was going to collapse after reading Creature of Jekyll Island. Our store is up, store.muckraker.com, muckraker.com. You can now subscribe. We're going to definitely... John's shaking his head. Oh, Muckraker Inc. Sorry, that's right. Jeez. Store.Muckraker Inc. Boy, we're going to get taken to task today. You know by whom, too, Michael. Monday was Luzerne County Council. Dobash calls out Boback. Maybe that's about time. We had Costa drugstores closing. Doctors are not signing up for the exchanges. We got the Obama uncle story. I mean, that was that was unbelievable. We got the minimum wage. We got Martin Bashir, this Alec Baldwin, these guys at MSNBC. Where do you want to start?
Well, it might be cold outside, but things are certainly heating up politically, aren't they, Lou?
It's unbelievable, Michael. The more, every time you turn around, we're getting stuff shoved down our throats. We're going to be down in Harrisburg this week. We're going to be talking about what we talked about last week a little bit about the voter access and the Voter Choice Act, but it's just... I don't know how we all keep up, and unfortunately, as well as I do, we have a republic. We vote these people in with the assumption that they're going to do the right things, but I don't know how people that are going to work every day, just doing everything that we need to do just to keep things on the home front moving and burning, keep the lights burning, and try to keep track of all these politicians and the things they're trying to shove down our throats. It can get discouraging.
It really can, Lou. And what amazes me is that our lawmakers expect the citizens to follow the laws, and yet the lawmakers don't follow the laws themselves. I mean, we have a president who has really broken, in my opinion, has crossed the line of constitutionality on multiple occasions, and yet we're supposed to sit back and follow all the laws. As a matter of fact, laws that to me, Lou, seem to be getting more increasingly cumbersome, that it's holding us back from being American citizens of ingenuity. We have right here in San Antonio that they're just dying for another news outlet, which we are coming to San Antonio, because they're getting the same thing going on here, where the mayor there, who is, again, one of Barack Obama's right-hand men, are just passing things without even constitutionality involved. And they have no concern about that, Lou. And that's what's concerning to me, that they're so bold, so blatant, that they believe that they can do anything they want, and they have no accountability for it, Lou.
Losing trust. I mean, we just said, I'm listening to the news last night, with this Obama uncle story. The guy's an illegal alien, for God's sakes. What's going on? You're living with him.
Well, it is. You're living with him, and yet initially it's denial, by the administration. Then, I lived with him. And interesting enough, at Cambridge, which we can't get his school records to begin with, and he talks about an open administration, and yet we don't even know where the man came from. We don't know what his past was. He lies about everything, and then you have Carney up there acting as if there's no concern that the American public shouldn't be questioning his integrity. And I think every day we should be questioning this man's integrity.
It's really out of control. I know X will be joining us here at the quarter hour, but this whole transparency in this administration and everything else it's really shameful. It really is, and I think more and more people are starting to look at it. I certainly am. We've actually stayed away from trying to bash certain people, trying to stay away from bashing whether it's the Obama administration or the Bush administration or people specifically, but it is now starting to it's really starting to get under my skin, because every time I look at this guy, it's like I'm just getting lied to. And if I'm feeling this way, I know there's an awful lot of people that are feeling this way out there also. You're listening to Sanity Check, 888-577-4487. Do you think you're getting lied to by this administration? When Mr. Obama, our president, gets on TV and looks at you and tells you you'll be able to keep your health care, period, do you believe it anymore? I mean, do we believe in anything? What do we believe in, Michael?
Well, there's always that constant spin of trying to change the subject. But what I find encouraging, Lou, is that as much as this administration tries to change the subject off of health care, it seems to come right back to health care. But you and I discussed many times on the air, Lou, a big part of the problem here is the media. And that's why I believe that the Independent Gazette is really becoming somewhat of a popular paper in the Wilkes-Barre area. We see this constantly where, for example, if anybody saw the interview on Hardball the other day with Barack Obama.
I mean, softball.
Softball, exactly.
T-ball.
It was unbelievable.
T-balling up, baby.
It was incredible. I mean, I looked at that and thought, you really expect, and unfortunately, there are people out there who really, really do. But what I found interesting was that it reminded me so much of when Catherine Sebellius came here to San Antonio and staged the entire audience. And that's what we saw on that interview, was an audience brought in, complete allegiance to this president, and it looked like they were just swarming all over, agreed everything with what he said, and they were truly drinking the Kool-Aid, Lou. And I want people to realize that the things that are going on and what the government does to stage false popularity is quite evident to me, and I hope other people are noticing it, Lou.
You know what? I know we were gonna start off on a couple other topics, but let's just stay on that. Let's talk about this MSNBC. We've been on these guys. These are the biggest phonies I've ever seen in my life. Do you remember when Rush was talking about this fluke lady or whatever it was? I think it was fluke, flake, whatever it is, and getting free, contraceptives and blah blah blah. Yeah. Do you remember how the media beat up on this guy?
Yes.
You had this Martin Bashir. I mean, but I got to tell you, defecating in the mouth of Palin or suggesting that's what people should be doing. I mean, are you kidding me? And the whole, you didn't hear anything about it. You heard very, very little, sometimes on, from conservative talk shows or maybe on Fox. Where is the outrage? You know why there's no outrage? Because they're all phonies. These guys are the biggest race mongers. We've called this out with Ed Schultz, this Alex Baldwin. Here's another phony. Every time, behind the doors, when they don't think there's any cameras on them, they're telling you once again how to live your life, how they're so pious. But as soon as that curtain opens and you see what they're all about, they are the biggest phonies. And I got to tell you, Michael, I don't think too many people probably listening to this show right now really, watch MSNBC all that much. I do. And they are the meanest, nastiest people you ever wanted to see in your life. They really are.
They really are, Lou. And what gets me is the fact that they're mean, nasty, but it's all a double standard. It's only on their agenda. And really, when I look at it, and I got to say, I've said it in the past, Lou, when I look at the 1930s and you saw the things going on there and how media was manipulated, how the youth was tried to be brought in as part of the issue, as labor unions were being brought in as part of the success of the Third Reich. it scares me, Lou, to see that there's similar tactics going on here. I know people call me conspiracy theory or whatever it might be, but I believe that, as this president said, he was going to change really what America looked like. If folks remember, and we brought this up on Sanity Check during his national convention speech, when he talked about bold, consistent experimentation. Now, he's talking about the government of the United States of America. And people, look that up. Those were the words. Bold, persistent experimentation. And this is what he wants to do with our lives and with our government, the greatest nation in the world. He's going to turn upside down, Lou, so that he can prove his agenda, his bitterness he has about people who have created wealth, and that it belongs into the hands of those that choose not to do things that it takes to create wealth. It really, really gets my skin. If I had hair on my back, it would be standing up right now.
Well, I'm hoping. I'm sorry, Michael. Yeah, I'm hoping more people start getting the hair up on the back of their neck, because it's coming at us so fast. And then we have this phony media. We really, really do that does not report on these things and pushing this agenda-driven news. I mean, and I don't know what else to say, but one of the things, once again, we are a small outlet. We're growing. Folks, if you're listening, you want to get involved, you want to help out, you can go to store.muckrakerinc.com. We do have a subscription. I want to push this stuff, Michael, because it is important. We're trying to make a difference. We're not the only ones trying to make a difference. There's plenty of places out there, at least new news sources, but certainly in this area, and certainly where we want to grow in our vision, is to make sure that there is a voice. Being able to call these people out. I mean, this whole MSNBC, Michael, if one day, just, when you're not doing nothing,
yeah.
When you're not doing nothing, just put it on or leave it in the background. You want to see your hair on the back of your neck grow up. You have to hear the hatred and the bitterness. I mean, we brought out this, what was it, down in Monroe County, this letter that went out to, people like Ted Cruz and Senator Marino. Remember that one? Our Congressman Marino here, calling these people, all kinds of ridiculous stuff. And it's never called out. It's like it rolls off these people's mouths like with immunity, and somehow you're supposed to take them credible. And I think that's what we can do here. They are not credible. X is going to, I hope X brings this up when he talks. I'm sure he will bring this up. These are not credible people. Remember he talked about, sitting down in a restaurant down there with all these supposedly journalists with, the people with the Obama administration. It's just like one big club.
It is, Lou. It is one big club. And the hypocrisy, as you mentioned just a few minutes ago, that they tell us how we should live our lives, and yet it's completely contrary to how they're living their lives. Don't get the gasoline and cut down your carbon imprint, and yet they've got mansions that we could fit all of our families into. They've got their private jets. They've got their big gas-eating cars. And this is what really, really has me ticked off, Lou, is the fact that they want us to live life of mediocrity or less while they fly around the country in their cozy little jets. And this is where I think, and matter of fact, I believe, is why the paper has become popular, why I just got a call from Houston the other day saying, what's the status on the paper? We need to start hearing things. So this is really a true, a visceral wanting or need of a part of the press that's going to report the truth, Lou.
Michael, you're hitting it right on the head. There were so many things that were flying through my head here, but we're going to take a break. But before we do, certainly we want to encourage people to go to our paper, look the paper, pick it up. It's in more and more stores. If you go to one of the Turkey Hills or some of the other stores in the local area, if it's not there, see if we could carry it there. You could help that way. But certainly go there and look at some of the people that are supporting us, that are standing up, Michael, that are stepping out of that box and saying, you know what, we know what these guys are doing, and they're looking to print the truth and to give people an alternative. Today at the 411 studio, I want to bring that up, 411 Lackawanna Avenue in Oliphant. from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. There'll be 21 or over 21 vendors there. Savory Grill, food truck will be serving lunch, 31 bags. I guess that's a company, Avon, Jenny Blewett Photography, Skeeter Bait and Tackle, all at 411 Studio. They're one of our sponsors, one of those people that is helping us out. Certainly, if you're in the area, if you're out shopping, please stop there. Stop at Restore Auto in Dalton. I do want to get through some of these advertisers, Michael, because that's how we're able to do what we're able to do. And certainly, you could now go to store.muckrakerinc.com and become a subscriber or just a supporter. So on that note, let's take a break. We'll be back in a minute with X and all kinds of other stuff.
Tea Party Mike, Libertarian Lou. Their Sanity Check. Saturday mornings, 94.3 FM, The Talker. Do you want education through discussion? Do you think there's bias in the media? Has the political class let you down? Then join Sanity Check as they expose, inform, and enlighten through the new standard in talk radio. Saturday mornings, 94.3 FM, The Talker.
Listen to a word I say. The screams all sound the same. The truth may vary this. Shit will carry out the body safe to show.
And we be back. 94.3 FM, The Talker. I am Libertarian Lou. We got Tea Party Mike. This is Sanity Check, 888-577-4487. That's 888-577-4487 if you want to join in on the conversation. And as always, once we hear that music, we got Jay Carney. We got X on the phone. Good morning, X.
Hello, gentlemen.
So what? So you've been hearing the conversation here. What do you want to start with? Or is there too much to even start with or even think about anymore, X?
Well, again, what's our big focus? What's the big implication going forward for the next year? The biggest thing that is facing us now is this healthcare debacle that's going to be, put onto the American public almost like a prison sentence. And the thing I want to point out about it again is, remember, in order for the plan to work, it involves an intergenerational theft, whereby we need to have the young people participate in the plan so that the plan will work. And what is that basically telling you? It's telling you that it's not an insurance program, because it doesn't matter how sick or how healthy you are. Insurance would price itself based on those factors, just like if you have a good driving record or a bad driving record, how much they charge you for insurance on your car. That's the pricing mechanism you use. This healthcare solution that the government's proposed really is, we're going to get young people and make them pay more money, even though they're healthier, to pay for our old people, so we could tell the old people it's a good deal, so we're really giving them something for nothing.
Well, the whole healthcare, we said it right from the beginning, welcome to modern day slavery in America, X. And I don't even know, driving up here today, and Michael, just thinking about this, as more people have to get into these exchanges or the whole thing right now is seems like it's upside down, because now what happens? Say we get rid of the healthcare or these programs that are being forced onto people. What happens if we get rid of it in 6 months from now? Then how do we rewind? And it's kind of, for me at least, a scary thought.
And this is the idea that the government has, and I believe this is a failure, really, of the media. Step back and think about this. We have thousands of pages of this healthcare law. We had to read the bill to find out what the vote and get the bill passed before we found out what's in it. And none of the people in the media took the time to go through and read that within the bill itself, it explains, I don't know the exact page, but there is something in there talking about how this is going to cause people to lose their health care because of the supposed government standards that every health care plan has to have now.
Right.
So you have to ask yourself, where was the professional media that's supposed to be doing the hard-hitting news that does the research? Or are they really just prognosticators, just commenting about day-to-day events without actually really digging in and becoming a true journalist. That's kind of what I feel is really lacking in today's media. The number of, let's say, real journalists, those that actually go out and are digging up stories and checking facts, there aren't a lot of them around. They've all become commentators. Bill O'Reilly, commentator. Most of the people on MSNBC, commentators. They're not sitting there. I mean, the days of, I'm supposed to believe George Stephanopoulos is a journalist. No, he's a talking head. He's not out there. I've never heard of him working this behind the scenes, and he's digging through no, he's not doing that at all.
You got that right. And then once again, I mean, it's almost like the people that have pushed this through, they're treasonous. I mean, they just flat out lied. And if they didn't know, they're just incompetent. And if they did know,
they're liars.
They're liars. I mean,
right.
It's
liars
simple as
and
that.
Manipulators of the worst type. Because what they're really trying to do is they're trying to get the American public into a boat that they know is going to sink, so that at some point in the future, I don't know what that date will be, if they get enough people on the sinking boat, then the government will come along and say, the only way to fix the system is with some sort of universal one-payer system. Let's just give up this whole idea. It's not working. The free market that we proposed, remember, they're going to try to call it our thing's a free market solution. Our free market solution of the healthcare exchange, because the Heritage Club wrote something about it 20 years ago, that means that fails and the government's going to have to step in, and now we're going to have a single-payer system to adjust for everything. See, but they've got you by the balls, so to speak, because where are you? You're stuck in a broken ship that's sinking.
Exactly, and that's exactly what I was thinking about on the way up here today. And I'm saying, how do we get this unwound? And I'm listening to people that have these horror stories on all kinds of stories. I mean, listen to people that have to sell their houses now because they can't afford their health care and all kinds of horror stories, really. And I don't even think we've touched the tip of the iceberg on this stuff yet.
Right. And what's happening is you have not heard anything from Wall Street projections that are out there as to how this is going to affect the consumer spending. Remember, they keep touting the consumer. Oh, the consumer is the economy. 70% of the economy is consumer spending. Well, how much consumer spending can you have if all of these young people aren't going to be able to save money for a house? They're not going to have enough money to save to move out of their parents' basement. They're not going to have enough money as a guy to maybe even go out on a date with a girl, let alone have a girlfriend who becomes her wife, which, of course, what year will this guy get married? And then if you keep delaying this, how long before people get married and have kids? So the whole next generation is almost screwed. You've almost put them in a position whereby you're going to decrease population and growth projections for the next 20 years because you've delayed what the normal cycle would be that couples typically, get married at age 28.
Michael, go ahead.
Yeah, I was thinking actually when you first started out, where you're right, they are counting on the youth, the younger folks, to be part of this health care, to join in there and pay the bills of those who have illnesses and elderly that can't really spend the money on their own. But what this administration is missing, X, is that it's not just having them enroll, but having them enroll and have jobs too. Because as I look here, there's more sign-ups for Medicaid, which is really, as we go back to a one-payer system, and I think that's the start of it. I believe the youth now are starting to look up X and say, you know what, the heck with this health care bill. We need jobs because, they've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars to get educated at some phony university that prepare them for nothing, and they come out and they have to go working at a minimum wage job. And that's a whole other issue. But, X, as I look at this, the whole thing is turned upside down. And yet we have an administration that constantly wants to spin what is really the truth rather than standing up and saying, you know what, we messed up. Let's fix it. Because, I would have more respect for a president that would say, you know what, we messed up. Let's fix it. But he's unwilling to do this. And I think, X, he's unwilling to do this because his agenda will not allow him to do it. Because you're right, there is really a true underlying push for a one-payer system, X.
When we look at these housing bubbles and the student loan bubble, why has this all happened, X? We know why it's happened.
Well, again, we're back to this point that the manipulation of the money supply, control of the money, and I'm going to paraphrase a Rothschild, Give me control of a nation's monetary system, and I care not who makes its laws. They are going to go from bubble to bubble to bubble. We've had a stock market bubble. We've had a real estate bubble. They're inflating a bond bubble. This idea of living within your means has all gone off the rails ever since the United States, for the most part, went off the gold standard back on August 15th, 1971. At that point, we've had the population of the country, essentially go up by about 40%, but for all intents and purposes, the debt loads of the country has gone up over 200%. God forbid we wake up one day and interest rates start going up a little bit. It'll blow up the entire budget. But the government, remember, the more people we have tied into the government, then the easier it is to control and manipulate them. The one thing the government does not want, they do not want a sovereign individual that can say to themselves, you know what, Pennsylvania stinks. I'm going to sell my business and move my family to a state where I can have freedom and liberty. They don't want that. They want the guy that's tied in with up to his eyeballs in debt, so he can't move, and he has to take the crappy job, and he has to listen to what the government says, or obey his financial masters.
The chains of debt, that's for sure. I mean, that's one of the first things that we talk about is financial freedom. You're listening to Sanity Check, 888-577-4487. That's 888-577-4487. Michael and X, for sure, we talk about supporting those that are local here. That can make a difference. We encourage you to pick up the Independent Gazette. You can go to WB Independent Gazette, check out our local stories here. Ray's Supermarkets, that's one of the local stores that are supporting us. Try supporting them. Certainly with Restore Auto Collision, we got some coupons in there, maybe great stocking stuffers, Inner Peace. That's somebody else that we encourage you to check out. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, X, hang on for a minute. I want to talk a little bit about this minimum wage. Michael, get your opinion on what this whole minimum wage stuff is all about. When we come back, you'll listen to Sanity Check.
The answer you're looking for lies right here.
Sanity Check with Tea Party Mike, Libertarian Lou, Saturday mornings, 94.3 FM The Talker. If you've been let down by the political class, then you're looking for Sanity Check Saturday mornings on 94.3 FM The Talker.
So wake me up when it's all over, when I'm wiser and I'm older. All this time I was finding myself and I didn't know I was lost. So wake me up when it's all over, when I'm wiser and I'm older. All this time
When I'm wiser and I'm older, Michael, is that going to happen as I get older? Am I going to get any wiser? You're listening to 94.3 FM The Talk, a Sanity Check, 888-577-4487. That's unbelievable. I hope I get a little smarter as I keep getting older, Michael. What do you think about that? You going to wake me up?
It's called wisdom, I believe, and I'm still searching for it.
Hey, wait a minute, wisdom. I'll tell you wisdom. You know where I'm going to get my Christmas pie? Are we allowed to say Christmas? My Christmas pies are coming from Williams Pies and Bakery. That's where that's coming from. If I need to store anything, it's going to be at All Storage there over in Pittston. These are people that are trying to help keep us up and wake me up and the whole 9 yards.
Very cool. Well, it's the thing of it is, I could afford those pies, Lou, if I could only get my minimum wage moved up.
That's it. So let's talk about minimum wage. As I asked X to hang on here, I'm listening to this whole argument about minimum wage, and certainly I understand it. I know, Michael, you understand it. X, I know you understand it. On the flip side of this, typically, if you had a real free market, all this would rise to the top. Michael, we talked a little bit about this. You had your pharmacy business. If you want good employees, if we had a free market, you would have to compete for those employees, and the way you compete for those employees is by giving them perhaps maybe a better wage, by giving them better health care, giving them certain benefits. Certainly, if I was a competing pharmacist and I wanted good employees, you and me would be in battle to pick up those employees. I.e., we would have a wage that would be not only competitive, but also, what people are really worth. And so now I'm listening at this minimum wage, and we don't have a free market. We have these corporations writing the laws and perhaps maybe suppressing wages. And that was a philosophical question I wanted to really throw out, not only to you, but also to X. I mean, how do you guys looking at this thing?
Well, I'm looking at, Lou, and you're right, it's free market. First of all, I take offense to the fact I'm running my business and the government's going to tell me what I have to pay someone. That is not free market. That is, it's totalitarian in my response.
Right.
But when I look at that, Lou, and I can remember way back and my advisor saying, well, you need a 401k. Why? Because you want to keep your good employees, right?
Right.
Oh, and that's exactly what he said. I said, yeah, you're right. Well, then you need to offer them something. And that's when it was when there was somewhat of a free market left in pharmacy that you could afford to do those things. And you're right, Lou. You want to take care of those people. And it's this whole minimum wage thing is under the disguise of looking out for the little people. And it's not, Lou, because you and I both know that all that's going to happen is two things. One, minimum wage goes up, the cost of the product has to go up. Therefore, that minimum wage doesn't feel like you're getting any more. And second, Lou, as we're sitting here talking, I'm thinking, and that minimum wage goes up, it means your taxation is going to go up. So the government now gets more of your money. At the end of the day, I believe those people who are, at the McDonald's, the Wendy's, who are now been told to cry out because the government's put it in their ears, that at the end of the day, this minimum wage hike, which is almost double of what it is today, will show no more, response in their ability to create wealth, Lou. The ability to create wealth comes from you, the individual, to either go and find a better job, to get yourself trained to do something better, to get yourself educated to do something better. That's how you create a higher income, Lou.
So X. So we raise the minimum wage. Do they lose those benefits or, these perks that the government give to low wages?
No, what they're going to end up doing is they're going to end up losing those jobs. I mean, if you're paying somebody $8 an hour now, and now you have to pay them $15 an hour, then instead of hiring the person with the high school dropout or a person that maybe might not have the best resume, you are now going to say, well, if I have to pay people $15 an hour, maybe the only people I'll hire will be college-educated people.
Right.
And that'll last for a little while, okay, maybe 1, 2, maybe at max 3 years. And the costs are going to get so high that they're going to say, wait a minute, I'm now paying people these outrageous amounts of money. Is there some way I can do with less employees because I have to pay employees $15 an hour?
Right.
And somebody's going to show up and say, oh, yeah, hey, I've got a machine here. I know it costs $400,000, which is outrageous. But since you're paying $15 an hour now instead of $8 an hour, it makes sense to put the machine in to make the hamburgers or to do whatever that process is. How does that sound to you, Mr. Hamburger store owner? And the guy will be like, you're right. I will get rid of 6 employees that I had working the grill. I just need somebody in the front to take care of the register now and work the drive-thru. So now my employees, although I was forced to have 10 employees paying them $15 an hour, now I'm down to 5. And what's my labor cost? My labor cost goes back down to $8 an hour because I've gotten rid of half the population, half the people working in the store. It's just, again, this is the idea that we constantly have from elected officials. They think they can interfere with the free market by pushing things through. And if you really want to go back to this, you want to know why people are working for such low wages right now? This is it. They've allowed illegal immigration to come into the country, and it acts as the greatest wage suppression device known to the country. Because no matter what happens, you ask yourself this, why isn't the local kid down the street cutting your grass or shoveling your snow? And the answer is because he's been displaced from the workforce because we are constantly allowing a flow in of cheap illegal immigrants. This is undermining whatever you can say to yourself, look, whatever plan is out there, whatever government official, you shut the border tomorrow and allow just legal immigration, and wages will go up across the board, across the country because of that. But when I'm sitting there and I'm on my way over to Home Depot to to go get a screw from the store, and there's 7 or 8 illegal aliens hanging around near there, these convenience stores, that are willing to work for, below minimum wage. How's the guy who's the carpenter supposed to compete against them?
And folks, if you're out there listening to exactly what X is talking about, if you think that the government is out there working hard to stop this illegal immigration, you're obviously, just fooling yourself. There was just a report, Michael, just here this past week, Department of Homeland Security, some of these attorneys that they hired. One of them was Jennifer Lee. She's now working for the government. She wrote a book, or what to do in case you're raided as an illegal. She's now working for the government, and supposedly in our interest. There's more they're hiring all kinds of lawyers at the Department of Homeland Security. Our taxes are going to, what's going on is totally out of control anymore. And X and Michael, we're on this, certainly this whole minimum wage topic and illegal immigration. But at the end of the day, it's the involvement of this big government. And then also when we start looking at the big corporations with big government, we're looking at an oligarchy here.
And that's been the case for a while. I mean, and that's what we need to understand. You think you're living in this free society with all of these choices and stuff, and every year that goes by, they find another thing to take away. I mean, you tell me this. What is the government giving back to you as a right that should be a right, but they view as a privilege, given back to you so that you have greater control over what you do with your life through your entire life? Every year, it's like the frog in a boiling pot of water. They keep taking something else and something else and something else. And this year we're able to try to get this health care. This will be even more. Before it was just health care for old people. Now we're going to have health care the way we want it for everybody. And it's always through the same thing. And this is the key point. It's for your own good, never allowing you the choice to make the decision voluntarily. Remember, anybody that does not participate within this stuff is going to be fined. Fines equals people with guns who can send you to jail for something as simple as you have to buy something you don't need.
Michael, go ahead.
It just for our listeners out there is a proposed train to go from San Antonio to the Mexican border. Now, why do we need a train to go from San Antonio to the Mexican border is beyond me. But I'm looking at it, okay, so this is just another way to get illegal immigration across the border. And I believe intentionally, as X is proposing, but we have to realize it's not just Mexican immigrants that are coming here, but there is illegal immigration from other nations that just cross through Mexico to get here. And really there's so many different things, and I don't know where this immigration bill will ever go or what they propose, but I think probably just, as we've said so many times, just enforce the laws that we have. And then we'll be able to get back to some normalcy. But to run a train billions and billions of dollars from San Antonio to the Mexican border makes no sense to me. So what's the agenda proposed for that particular project?
Well,
I can only imagine.
Yeah, well, we're going to have a national ID card. That's going to be that's going to be the solution for our border control, Michael. Listen, we talk all the time about what we can do because this is overwhelming. I mean, you listen to this stuff and you start saying, wow, what can we do? We could change it locally. We have to start looking at our judicial system here locally, our enforcement system here, who's doing what, and that's where locally where we could really make a difference. And I think that's what we're trying to say with the paper, with this radio station, with our radio show. You can make a difference, and we encourage you to do that. X, thanks for joining us once again this week. We need to take a break. When we come back, Michael, I want to talk a little bit about Costa drugstores closing, why you moved to Texas once again, the whole healthcare industry and what's going on. You'll listen to Sanity Check. We'll be back in a moment.
Tea Party Mike, Libertarian Lou. They're Sanity Check. Saturday mornings, 94.3 FM, The Talker. Do you want education through discussion? Do you think there's bias in the media? Has the political class let you down? Then join Sanity Check as they expose, inform, and enlighten through the new standard in talk radio. Saturday mornings, 94.3 FM, The Talker.
As we roll down this unfamiliar road, and although this wave is stringing us along, just know you're not alone, 'cause I'm gonna make this place your home.
And you're home, 94.3 FM, The Talker, Sanity Check. I'm Libertarian Lou, Tea Party Mike, 888-577-4487. Michael, we talked about local stuff, what we can do, how can we change things, and it starts locally. We have more of an influence there than any place else. And then once again, I just do want to say the 411 studio in Oliphant from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. today. That's at 411 Lackawanna Avenue. Over 21 vendors. If you're out and about today and tomorrow and in the Oliphant area, stop by. And let the owners know and the folks there locally know that you heard it here on 94.3 FM, The Talker, Sanity Check, and through the Independent Gazette. Michael, I listened to some people's stories from Costa Drug. They just announced that they were closing. We're going to do an interview with them for the paper here, maybe later today, maybe tomorrow. Certainly before Monday, before they close. But some of the stories I heard about, especially seniors going and crying, and I'm sure perhaps maybe the same thing happened to you, people that, just felt they had a home. They had a home with or a store that has been there for 3 generations. And I'm hearing that they're throwing up their hands for the same reason that you did, that you can't make it anymore, that we have big government. Big corporations holding hands, singing kumbaya with our big government. People in Congress, people in the Senate, people that look at you in the eye and say that they're on your side, they're for you, they're helping you. And yet you see more and more small businesses, and why it's so important to support our small businesses here locally, going out of business. And one of the reasons you left was exactly that reason. And you even looked at maybe perhaps going into the pharmacy business down in Texas. And what have you found out?
Well, what I found out, Lou, is the same thing that was in Pennsylvania. The government has manipulated the pharmacy industry so much. They've invaded it so much that you cannot make a living in pharmacy. And I just want to give a little example to the people listening out there of what the independent pharmacist is up against. When I first started in 1995, you can go and work your 90, 100 hours a week, which was a lot. But there was a light at the end of the tunnel knowing that you could make a profit. But I have a good friend in Pennsylvania who has a pharmacy, and there was a medication we were talking about, and I really generally asked him, is there still money to be made? And he said, I thought about you yesterday. I was going to call you. He filled a prescription. His dispensing fee was 35 cents. That's what the insurance company valued his professional opinion at, was 35 cents about the cost of the medication. That doesn't include the bag. That doesn't include the label. It doesn't include the bottle. It doesn't include the staff. It doesn't include the lighting. It doesn't include the electric bill. 35 cents, Lou. Who could survive on 35 cents of filling medications? It's impossible, Lou. But what happens is that when you have the big industries come in, the big chains come in, and they go to the insurance company and say, okay, we're not accepting that type of contract. We want much more than that, 2, 3, 4, 5 times more than that. And they're getting it because of their power, Lou. And the reason their power has developed is because of the cozy situations that they have in bed with our large government that creates regulation that benefits their existence and not the small independent. So where a free marketplace is gone, and yet if we reinstitute the free marketplace, Lou, you will see medications drop. You will see Big Pharma getting out of the way and not manipulating the prices with big insurance. And you have a great company like Costa Drug. And you're right, Lou. People really are invested, not just there to get the medications, but emotionally. They feel like they have a home. They know the people that take care of them. There was a poll done less than 5 years ago. If you had your choice, where would you go for your medication? 77% of the people picked the independent pharmacist, and yet they're becoming a dinosaur at this point. Not because of lack of hard work, Lou, but because of the fact that the government has decided that they're not going to survive. Once again, it's a situation, Lou, where we're picking the winners and the losers through big government. And I find it absolutely sad for the people who are not going to be serviced the way they're used to being serviced, Lou. So, I understand why Costa Drug is certainly doing what they're doing, and you're going to see more of it, Lou.
Yeah, you constantly see more of it. And what happens is that the people that are writing these laws, just like our healthcare law, is written by these big corporations, by lawyers that are hired by the corporations, hired by the lobbyists, and then we have legislators that don't stand up, that wind up just voting on something in a hurry that they haven't read. There's no way you could read these things. I mean, they come out boldly and say, you have to pass the bill and then you'll find out what's in it. Are you kidding me? I mean, when there's all kinds of, this is total insanity, Michael.
It does, Lou, but it gets even worse than that. For example, some of our listeners out there, and you'll have prescription programs like Medco, Express Scripts, Aetna, guys, but Medco was just purchased by Express Scripts. But before it was, we had a bill I believe it was in the Senate, United States, to be able to make this equal so that we don't have this discriminatory pricing, et cetera, et cetera. But here's how difficult it got. The bill couldn't even get out because one of our lawmakers, a head senator, not only was he a senator, but would you like to guess what board he sat on? He sat on the board of Medco,
right?
Who was one of the enemies that we were fighting against. Now, how do you, as an individual who is supposed to be represented by that senator, is in bed and sitting on the board of the very enemy that we're trying to battle? This is what we're having in Washington. I believe if you're a senator or a House member, that you should not have access to sit on any board. It's bad enough they're being lobbied continually, but now they're working for them too, Lou. How are we going to be represented in such a corrupt system is what we have in Washington right now, Lou. We've got to take it over. If
you live in Scranton, Pango, there's a perfect example. The new pay-by-phone parking. Ed Rendell is on their advisory board. This is exactly what you're talking about, Michael. I mean, and we can't hold these people up. When I see this Ed Rendell, I don't see this smiley face. I see this devil. I see somebody that has went out of his way to enrich himself, and don't look at me in the eye and saying, oh, this is going to be good for you. No, it's good for you, Mr. Rendell. And there's no reason why I should respect you, hold you in high esteem. I mean, because what they've done is sell their souls for a few shekels, and the whole morality, everything is going down. I don't get it, Michael, and I'm hoping people start, and I think it is, because now it's starting to hit home when people's health care is starting to be canceled. We all know we're getting lied to.
Well, we do, Lou. And you look at the Senator of Pennsylvania, Robert Casey. He's been awful quiet through this thing, hasn't he, Lou? But here's an opportunity for our listeners to call up Casey and ask him, demand him for answers. What's his position on this stuff? Because he hides in his little hole, his little bunker, and says nothing until the next election. But if you look at his voting, it's constantly with 98% of the time prior to the last election for his position. With Barack Obama, he voted for the health care bill. He's part of the problem. And this is why we need to say, we're not voting for a particular party anymore. We're voting for a man or a woman of principle. I think of Kathy Dobash for Luzerne County Council. She is a woman who doesn't care what the party says, who doesn't care. She cares about the people she's representing, and she cares about the county she's representing. And this is what we need in all forms of government, Lou, and we as the voter have to throw these bums out.
Keystone Frank Scavo. Here's a nice story. He's one of our supporters here, and certainly takes out an ad and helps do what we're doing here and at the Independent Gazette. He from what I understand, I just spoke with him yesterday, and he has some nice announcements. He just bought the whole Keystone operation, and I think he said 1,500 employees. So that was great, Frank Scavo of Old Forge. But one of the things that he said to me about we were talking about, the Costa drug and the small businessman and all these other things. And he says, what's lost, Michael, and you know it and I know it. He says, when you're in business, when you're a small business person, you could bend the rules for the benefit of the customer. So
right.
As well as I do, Michael, when you're when you're a pharmacist and somebody comes in and maybe they're running late, you could bend the rules, maybe stay open a little bit later. You're not so rigid. You could say, well, listen, let me get on the horn and let me call and see what's going on. And I think that's what's so important about why it's important to support those and our small businesses. Yes, I know it's easy sometimes to just jump in the car and go to the big box stores, but I'm certainly making more note of it and trying to make sure that we support those people locally, because the money at least stays in our community, and that's really where we're going to get any real high paying good jobs from.
Yes, and you're right, Lou. And I look at just in the situation I'm in now, and when I owned Noki's Pharmacy, if somebody's insurance didn't work, hang on, we'll get on the phone. We'll see what we can do. But now the answer is, oh, your insurance doesn't work.
Well,
I know we're running out of time, but we had an 80-year-old woman that we actually did. We spent an hour and 45 minutes getting her insurance straightened out the other day, Lou. So this is what we're going to see in the future.
Well, once again, when you have an opportunity, look for the Independent Gazette, pick the paper up. We have some coupons in there, and certainly try to support those that are helping us and keeping us going. You could go to store.muckrakerinc.com, muckrakerinc.com. You could get a subscription and enjoy your weekend, folks. We're out of time. Michael, you have it as always.
God bless all.
God bless everybody. Have a great weekend.